This doesn't look real. The mountains rise straight out of the water, sharp and silent, like the world forgot to finish loading the rest of the map. The air feels colder, cleaner, almost unreal. There's no noise, no crowds, just stillness, stretching as far as the eye can see. At first glance, it feels like a place made for postcards. Too perfect, too calm, almost staged. But this isn't a movie set or a drone trick. People actually live here. They wake up to views like this. They drive through landscapes that feel more like dreams than geography. So the question isn't whether this place is beautiful. The real question is this the most beautiful country in the world? Let's find out. Where in the world is this place? This place is Norway, a country stretched along the northern edge of Europe, where land and sea collide in the most dramatic way possible. It sits far above most of the world, reaching deep into the Arctic Circle, where winter nights can last for months and summer days barely end. Norway is long, narrow, and shaped by ice, time, and patience. Glaciers carved its valleys. The ocean flooded them. What remains are deep fjords, towering cliffs, and quiet waters that reflect the sky like glass. But Norway isn't just remote on a map. It feels distant in spirit too, untouched, unhurried, almost resistant to the modern world. And that's what makes it fascinating. Because beauty here isn't loud, it's quiet and deliberate. The landscapes that redefined beautiful. In Norway, beauty doesn't appear all at once. It unfolds slowly, mile by mile, until your sense of scale completely breaks. One moment you're driving beside calm water, and the next, sheer mountains rise straight up from the sea, their peaks disappearing into low clouds. These are the fjords, deep, ancient valleys carved by glaciers and filled by the ocean. And they feel less like scenery and more like architecture. Waterfalls spill down cliffs as if gravity is optional here. Some thunder loudly, others slip quietly through moss and rock. Wait until you see what Norway is like when the sun disappears. Snow-dusted mountains stand guard over small villages that seem almost too fragile for the landscape surrounding them. And then there's the food, simple, local, and deeply tied to the land. Fresh salmon pulled from cold, clean waters, cod dried by sea air and time, warm soups, dark bread, and meals designed not to impress, but to sustain. Norwegian food mirrors the landscape, honest, unfussy, and shaped by survival rather than excess. What's striking is how ordinary all of this feels to the people who live here. In many countries, these views would be protected behind gates and entrance fees. In Norway, they're part of everyday life, the backdrop to grocery runs, school commutes, and quiet evenings. But this natural beauty didn't happen by accident. It reflects a deeper relationship between people and place. A country designed around nature, not tourists. In Norway, it feels like the land came first, and everything else had to adapt. Roads curve gently around mountains instead of cutting through them. Tunnels dive beneath fjords and emerge miles later, not to impress, but to protect what's above. Even the architecture stays low and quiet, blending into forests, rock and snow, rather than competing with them. There are no giant billboards screaming for attention, no neon signs fighting for your eyes. Towns feel intentionally modest, as if designed to step back and let nature speak louder. The result is a rare sense of visual calm. Nothing feels rushed or overcrowded. What's surprising is that this design isn't meant for visitors. It's built for everyday life. Ferries double as public transport. Hiking trails begin just outside residential neighborhoods. Nature isn't a weekend escape here. It's woven into the daily routine. This approach changes how a place feels. You're not being sold an experience. You're being invited to quietly observe one. And to understand why Norway chose this path, you have to look beyond the landscapes and toward the people themselves. The Norwegian mindset, quiet, reserved. Norway's beauty isn't only found in its landscapes. It's reflected in the people who live among them. Norwegians are often described as quiet, reserved, even distant at first. Conversations are brief. Smiles are subtle. There's no rush to impress or stand out. This way of life is shaped by a deeply rooted cultural idea, often summed up as janteloven, the belief that no one is better than anyone else. Success isn't loudly displayed. Wealth isn't flaunted. Status is downplayed. Instead, there's a quiet pride in being self-sufficient, respectful, and content with enough. You see this mindset everywhere, in simple clothing designed for weather, not fashion. In homes that prioritize warmth and function over luxury. In cities that feel calm rather than ambitious. There's comfort in this simplicity, but also distance. Social circles form slowly. Friendships take time. Silence is not awkward here. It's normal. This mindset creates a society that feels balanced and grounded. Life moves at a steady pace, free from constant comparison. But that same quiet can feel heavy, especially when winter arrives, and the days grow dark, long, and lonely. Is Norway too perfect? As breathtaking as Norway looks, living here comes with trade-offs that aren't visible in postcards. The most obvious one is cost. Everyday life in Norway is expensive. A simple meal, a short taxi ride, even groceries can feel shockingly priced to visitors. This isn't a place built for cheap indulgence or constant consumption, but the real cost goes deeper than money. Winters are long and unforgiving. In many parts of the country, daylight becomes a luxury, not a guarantee. Weeks pass with barely a glimpse of the sun. The cold settles in, streets grow quieter. Social life slows to a near standstill. There's also emotional distance. The same independence and privacy that create peace can also create isolation. For newcomers, breaking into social circles can feel harder than climbing a mountain trail. And yet, this raises an uncomfortable question. Is perfection sustainable? When life is calm, clean, and predictable, some people begin to crave chaos, noise, ambition, crowds, contrast. So would you trade convenience for quiet, speed for space, noise for stillness? Despite all of this, Norway consistently ranks among the happiest countries in the world, which makes you wonder, what do they understand about life that the rest of us don't? Happiness, freedom, and trust. Norway's happiness doesn't come from constant excitement or endless choice. It comes from something quieter. Trust. Trust in institutions. Trust in neighbors. Trust that life doesn't have to be a constant struggle to be meaningful. People here work, but work rarely consumes identity. Evenings belong to family, nature, or simple rest. Weekends aren't about escaping life, they're about returning to it. Long walks, slow meals, time outdoors, regardless of the weather. There's also a deep sense of freedom. Not the loud, flashy kind, but the kind that comes from knowing basic needs are covered. Healthcare, education, and safety aren't daily worries. That security creates mental space, room to breathe, to think, to exist without pressure. Nature plays a role too. Access is open. Trails aren't locked. Shorelines aren't privatized. The land belongs to everyone, and people treat it that way, with care, restraint, and respect. This balance of trust, freedom, and simplicity forms the foundation of Norwegian happiness. But the most magical moments here don't happen during the day. They happen when the sun disappears and the sky takes over. In Norway, night doesn't simply fall, it transforms. The cold deepens. The world goes quiet. And then, if you're patient, the sky begins to move. Soft waves of green light ripple overhead, slow and silent, like the atmosphere is breathing. The northern lights aren't guaranteed. You can wait for hours, sometimes days, and see nothing at all. But when they appear, time seems to pause. There's no soundtrack, no announcement. Just light dancing across darkness, reminding you how small and lucky you are to witness it. People don't cheer, they don't shout. They watch in silence, wrapped in thick jackets, standing still beneath the universe. It's not entertainment. It's an experience that demands presence. And once you've seen it, something shifts. The cold feels lighter, the quiet feels meaningful. But Norway isn't always glowing skies and once-in-a-lifetime moments. There's another side, one that rarely makes it into highlight reels. What the Norway tourists don't post about. Between the dramatic peaks and glowing skies lies everyday Norway. Quiet streets, grey skies, long stretches of routine. Small towns where nothing seems to happen. And that's the point. Life here can feel repetitive. Shops close early. Nights are still. Days blend together, especially in winter. The excitement fades, replaced by structure, responsibility, and patience. This is the Norway most visitors never see, not the adventure, but the ordinary. And yet, there's a strange beauty in that too. A calm that settles in once expectations disappear. Here, beauty isn't constant spectacle, it's consistency. It's knowing tomorrow will look much like today, and being okay with that. The question is, would you be? Because in Norway, beauty isn't something you visit. It's something you live with. So, is Norway the most beautiful country in the world? That depends on how you define beauty. If beauty is dramatic landscapes, untouched nature, and skies that come alive at night, Norway makes a powerful case. Few places offer this much raw, unfiltered scenery without asking you to fight crowds or noise to reach it. But if beauty is comfort, convenience, and constant excitement, Norway may feel too quiet, too reserved, too slow. Life here asks you to trade stimulation for stillness, ambition for balance, and urgency for presence. Norway doesn't try to impress you. It doesn't perform. It simply exists, calm, confident, and unapologetically itself. And maybe that's what makes it beautiful. Because the most beautiful places aren't always the loudest or the easiest to love. Sometimes they're the ones that teach you how to slow down, how to breathe, and how to feel content with enough. So maybe the real question isn't whether Norway is the most beautiful country in the world. It's whether you're ready for a kind of beauty that doesn't rush to be seen. If this video gave you a sense of calm or wonder, like the video, it really helps.